Okay, welcome everybody. Today we're going to go over getting started with Mydoma. If you are currently a Mydoma user, this is a great opportunity for a refresher, or maybe you're a new team member, or maybe you're just starting out with Mydoma. We're going to go over all the basics together. So during this presentation, if you have questions, please put them in the chat just so it's not to throw off anything, since we have so much information to go over. We just want to make sure that we're able to get to everything in time, and we'll have a Q&A at the very end. Okay, so what we're going to cover getting started on the right foot with Mydoma, overview the settings, profiles, catalogs, and user management. So that includes clients, team members, vendors, products and services, all that kind of fun stuff. Hands-on expert demonstration. So I'm going to show you and walk you through all those steps, and then kind of give you an idea on the transition timelines and where to find guidance and support. So 3 steps to prepare for change in case you are new to Mydoma. You want to know why you're wanting to change over, commit to learning and understand your process, and get organized. Knowing your why can definitely help whenever you are coming to a little bit of a learning curve, or just the point where you're just like, why did I change everything? Keep in mind that once you get everything set up, it will help you save so much time and help you have a process in place that you can use moving forward to allow you to focus more on designing versus having to do all of the back end stuff each and every time. Commit to learning. You only have to take baby steps. So focus on what you need first and foremost, and then continue on to maybe some of the other benefits and features that we have. And understand your process and get organized. Everybody has a different process and how they do things. And so making sure that you have that. Personally, we recommend writing it down even for you and your team, because it kind of helps you hold yourself and your team more accountable to follow the steps that you'd like. So I'm going to go over a lot of the very basics, and then we will come back to these slides. So first things first, everybody has their own unique studio URL. So for example, mine is mydomabasiclessons.next.mydomastudio.com. Yours will likely be whatever you signed up with. More times than not, it's going to be your business name, or maybe it's an acronym, but everybody's is unique. We recommend bookmarking your unique studio to help you log in faster. That way you don't have to go through our website to then be directed here. It makes things a lot easier. Plus, it keeps you logged in for quite some time, so you can just select studio instead of having to type in your email and information each and every time. To find support, you have in your studio name, you can select that and go to help guides, or you can also select the question mark at the very top right. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit for presentation purposes. The question mark at the top right, you can select that and you can see your help guides here, separated by category, some education options, some community options, including our VI directory, and connect with support. With the support chat, you can ask us questions, you can search through help articles, and at the bottom, you can also look through previous conversations that you've had with us. And again, the help option is if you wanted to look through any articles directly here. One article that I highly recommend if you are new to Mydoma or transitioning from another platform is the best practices for studio data importers. This is a way for us to bulk import products, clients, and vendors for you. It does have to be set up in a very specific way. So we do have a template here, and it has instructions on how to do this. If you are not able to use that template, there is an Excel spreadsheet option down at the bottom. So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can click on that to download it and then use however you need. On the right-hand side, there are these headers, and it tells you, based off of the template, the header and any required or details that you need to know about each field for whenever you're sending it to us, to make sure that we can import everything as best as we possibly can for you. Okay, let's go back to the studio and we'll go over our dashboard. So whenever you first log in, you see your calendar. Unless you are on an older legacy plan, then you may not see a calendar. You may see tasks there instead. Quick actions, you have some options to quick create a project, a product, a service, or a team member. You have your favorite project. So if you select the heart on any of your projects, it'll show up here. The most recent projects you created will show a little bit lower. And then lastly, you have your studio events. At the top right, you have your message center where you can select this plus icon to create a message, give it a subject, and select add people. If you click on their profile, it will add them in. And you can also type in their information here to help find them. You're also able to select show menu and search through just team members or just clients if you prefer. Once you're happy with that, you can select start conversation, but I'm going to cancel out of this one and go to a different one. As you can see, this is one of my test ones, which is why I'm mostly just talking to myself. But if you ever need to edit or add somebody to a message, you can select this pencil icon here at the top right. You can add people. You can change the subject. You can also remove people. If you want to remove somebody, you can select the X here or click on their profile, and that will remove them. Keep in mind, if you do add anybody to a conversation, they will be able to see everything that was discussed beforehand. And if you no longer need a conversation, you can select this box with a down arrow to archive it and get it out of your way. There are some filters for the overall conversations where you can sort by a few different options. You can search by a subject, you can search for specific people, and then you can also look at archived. If I check mark archived, I can see different messages that I have here. I can click on this and then select unarchived conversation to pull it back out. I'm going to exit out of the message center. Next, at the top right, I have the bell icon, which is my notifications. So any notifications that I have here, I can click on it and it will take me directly to what it is talking about. To edit your profile and to edit also any email notifications or push notifications that you want, you'll select the, oh, I totally didn't realize that my camera was still on for the recording. I'll turn my camera off. So in case my face is covering that for the recording, the message center, the notification bell, and the question mark. Okay, so to edit your profile, you'll select your name at the bottom left and then select user settings. In here, you can see your profile information, any addresses that you've added, what version of the studio you're currently on, the notification options, change your password, and appearance. So if you need to change any of your information, you can select the pencil icon, edit your information here, and you can also upload a profile image for yourself. The theme mode or appearance for light and dark is for each person individually. So that does not apply to anything other, like anybody else. So if I switch to dark mode, it's just dark mode for me. Let's continue on to updating your business information. To update your business information, you'll select your studio name at the top left corner and then go to studio settings. From here, you can see your basic information. This image is what was behind my login page. So if I go back to my login page, I can see that image here. It will auto adapt and adjust based off of your screen size. And keep in mind, whenever you're uploading it here, it does not need to take up the full length. It can be any type of image, and it will typically try to aim towards the middle of it. You can upload your logo here by selecting the pencil icon. You can drag and drop it, or select browse to pull from your computer files. Then you'll select upload and it'll put that in there for you. Continuing down, you have your business address information, your studio name overall, welcome intro and intro text, which again shows on the login page for both you and your clients. Tax number, if this is required for you, in certain places, it is required by law to have your tax ID number on all orders and invoices. If it's not required for you, you don't have to add that there. It's just something useful. The logo mark. So the logo mark is going to be the icon that shows at the very top left corner for you. Typically, it's not always your full logo. It's usually a more simplified symbol or image that represents your brand. You can change your default currency, but you should have set this up whenever you set up your studio entirely. And you also have the studio themes. So you can select different colors and you can see different options. For example, the transfer ownership or the play buttons or the notifications up here, change colors for the symbols based off of different settings. So these are preset, but if you find one that you like, this theme does apply to everyone in your studio. So any clients, team members, and yourself. Next, we have billing. So this is where you can see your card information, when your plan is renewing, if you wanted to upgrade, and also if you wanted to add any team members or upgrade to Visualizer Pro. You can also view payment history and see your previous invoices for your subscription here, and you can download them. Continuing on, I will go to payments. This is where you can connect Stripe and allow to collect credit cards and bank transfers through the studio. If you want to always pass fees to clients, you can check this on in your studio settings, and any invoice created from that point on will automatically have that checked, but you can adjust that in each invoice. Keep in mind, you will need to check and make sure that is legal in your local jurisdiction. Not everywhere does that have a legal right. You need to check with an accountant or a business lawyer on that. Next, I'm going to go to accounting, which is towards the middle. This is where you can connect QuickBooks if you are on a plan that allows for that, but also any plans, this is where you'll want to add your tax rate. To add the tax rate, it's going to be at the top right. Unless you are on a smaller screen or zoomed further in, it will be the plus sign at the bottom right. Typically throughout the studio, if you're trying to add something, it's going to be at the top right if you're on a larger screen, or again, the bottom right if you're on a tablet, your phone, or just zoomed in further. Zoom back out a little bit. I want to select add tax rate. The name and the description can be what best suits your information. But whenever you select add tax rate, the rate name, agency, and value, especially if you're connecting this with QuickBooks, needs to match QuickBooks exactly. The rate name is typically something like your county's sales tax, and the agency is, example, Tennessee Department of Revenue or the CRA, stuff like that. If you're in a location that has multiple tax rates that you have to apply to every item, then you can select to add another tax rate, and you can have, for example, county and state, or province and federal. You can have those there. Otherwise, you just need that one line in there, and you can go ahead and select to save. This calculate as split tax is useful if you do have split tax, so you can see what tax goes to which rate. So if I have a 5% and a 10% here, then whenever I actually apply that, it will break it down for me on how much tax is going to this one versus the second one. So that is something that I definitely highly recommend, especially if you have multiple tax rates that you have to apply to items. If a tax rate changes, what we recommend is that you select the tax rate that was old and then you toggle it to be archived. If you edit the tax rate as it is, it will update across the entire studio and can affect some of your bookkeeping. So that's why we recommend that you archive it and create a new tax rate if the rate changes. If you just created your tax rate and you need to change the rate name or agency or something like that, and you haven't applied to anything, by all means, go ahead and edit it. But if you've already applied it to invoices, products, and things like that, make sure that you're paying attention to how you're doing that. It's much easier to archive the tax rate and create a new one than having to go back through and update any information. Next up, we will go over how to add team members. So as I mentioned in the billing section, if you wanted to add a team member or if you're on a professional team plan, you already have yourself plus 2 more. If you wanted to add team members, you can select this plus, or not this plus, this up arrow icon and select update and fill out the information. And at any point you want to go back down, you can select the down arrow. And then again, you would update that if you needed to change that. You'll want to go to your studio logo mark and then team management in order to find your team members and their profiles. To create somebody, you will select add team member, but first you may want to create a role. Keep in mind you can create as many roles as you want. You can also edit the roles. So if you already have one, great. We have a few default ones, but you can tweak that however you need. But I'm going to select add role. You'll give it a name and a description. And then any of these you want, you'll check mark them or toggle it on. So keep in mind that this first column is always view only permissions. The second is always edit. And the last is always create. You do not have to click on each one. If you want them to be able to create something, you can just click on that and it'll check all 3 for you. Same thing if you wanted to remove it, you can deselect view and it will remove that. Versus if you just wanted them to be edit, you can deselect create and it'll bring them back down to edit. As you scroll down here in the project section, you have the project manager permission. If you have questions on what each permission does, you can click the question mark next to each one and it will give you a little bit more information. The project manager does not affect any other permissions. This only assigns them to all the projects to just get them into the project and give them access. So if you want somebody on all projects, you'll want this turned on. However, if you want to control which projects they have access to, you want this turned off. I'm going to go ahead and mention you do want to scroll all the way down. The very last one is visualizer. I'm going to cancel out of this and I'm going to select to add team member. So this is how you give them access to the system. So you'll give them their first name, last name, and a unique email address. Those are the 3 things that are required. And again, the email needs to be unique. It can't be used for another client or another team member, just because then if we had allowed that, it wouldn't know how to log them in. So that's why it is required that the email is unique. It will give you an error if you've already used that email. You can also select the role here that you would like to add them to. You can always change them. You can fill out any addresses for them, or they can come in and edit their own profile to add this. Same thing for their profile image. You can upload that, or they can come in and edit their profile at the bottom left and upload that themselves. From here, you can select the down arrow and select save and invite. Or if you just want to save it and you're not quite ready to invite them, you can go ahead and just select save. Whenever you create a team member, they will start out as inactive. And if you select the 3 dots, then you can select send invite. and that will change them to invited, as you see here. You do not want to activate them. You just want to invite them, because once they create their own profile or their own password, sorry, it will automatically switch them to active. If you wish to edit anybody's permissions, you'll find their profile, and then the role just above them, you'll select this gear icon here. And then you can click and adjust their permissions. Just make sure to select done after each person, or each role, I should say, to save any changes that you made. Okay, so a similar process is going to be for clients. So I'm going to come down to this person icon on the far left. And here you can see my different clients. All I have to do is select to add client at the right-hand side. And again, I need to give them a first name, last name, and email. The other options are optional, but those three are required. And again, it has to be a unique email address. Whenever you've created them, you can simply add them if you're not ready to invite them quite yet, or you can select a down arrow to add an invite. If you wanted to add and open up their profile to maybe add some custom fields or extra notes about them, you could do that. Or you can add and create new if you're trying to add multiple clients in a row just to continue on. That way you can get through all your people. Or of course, again, if you have multiple, you can send us that CSV spreadsheet. Again, whenever you create a client, they will start out as an active. You can select the three dots and, oops, sorry, nope. You can click on their profile and then you can select send invite. It will show any projects that they are currently added to. It'll show any internal notes, addresses, and a few more details further down. If you have questions about some of this stuff at the end, I'm more than happy to go over it, but we're just going to go over some of the basics just to get you started first. To edit a client profile, you'll select this pencil icon. And again, you can edit their information. You can also add custom fields. So as you see, I have alternate email and alternate phone. So I can select add custom field and type in what I would like for it to be. Then select a text, website, email, or phone. And then I have the option to apply it to all clients or just that individual one. So if I leave it unchecked, it'll just be for that individual one. Any custom field that you fill out or internal notes will not show to the client. Only the basic standard ones that you also see whenever you're editing your own profile. So again, if I go to my user settings, it's just your first name, last name, email, and phone number that they can update. They can also update their profile image. So let me come back over here. You can see that this client is invited. Keep in mind, for all people, team members and clients, the invitations last for about 72 hours. So if it does say invitation expired, you can simply select resend right here, or you can select resend invite here. They both work. They're both linked to that. And again, once they create their own password through the invitation, it will automatically switch them to active for you. You do not want to activate them manually unless you deactivated them, unless they're a returning client more so, and you deactivated them and wanted to reactivate them. Continuing down, we're going to go to vendors. It looks like a little lemonade stand is what I always describe it as. I can select to add vendor at the top right. And the only thing required here is the vendor name. You are able to add the account number and vendor URL if you would like. But again, the only thing required is the name. So I'm going to go ahead and click into this vendor. So I can see a few different details in here. I can add materials and files. So say that the vendor requires a very specific order form, or maybe you have their pricing catalog. You can add those here just so you have a record of it and you don't have to go hunt it down on their site or through emails. You can select the pencil icon to edit their information. Again, you have add custom field here, so you can add extra details. You can also select a category, which is just suppliers or service providers if you'd like, and you can create your own subcategories. Select the plus sign to create any new. You do need to select the category first, and then you can select the plus icon. You are also able to add a default discount onto your designer cost or a default markup onto your client's price. So anytime you tie a product or service to this vendor, it will automatically mark it up for you once that item is added into the project. You, of course, can always go in and edit that in each item on the project too. Something else that's useful is that you are able to tag vendors. So if you wanted to help yourself organize and kind of search through who has what. So if you know that you just had a new pillow insert vendor and you cannot for the life of you remember what their name is, if you tag them while you're creating them, then you can search for that tag to be like, oh yeah, that's who they were. I actually had this happen to me just the other day. So it's a nice fresh memory to pull out up. The primary contact information pulls over onto the order for you. So whenever you're ready to email an order to the vendor, it will take this information and go ahead and apply it to that order and send it. So you don't have to remember their email each and every time. You can just go ahead and it pulls it for you and send it. To edit this information, so maybe you get a new primary contact where they change their email, phone number, you can select this pencil icon and edit that information here. Okay, let's go through the product clipper and adding products, since products is the next catalog. So in the product catalog, I have all my items here. Again, I can manually create items by selecting add new at the top right. And I would fill out all of this information. I can go to specs and just be sure to scroll down because there are a few more options. Image, you can upload multiple images and any notes. So manually creating is extremely useful whenever you have an item that you bought at a store or something that you already had in your inventory that you don't necessarily have a website to pull from. You can go ahead and manually create that so you have that information in here for yourself. If you do have a website to pull from, what you can do is select your logo mark at the top left and go to apps and extensions. And then you'll select the browser that you use for your clipper. Keep in mind for Apple, this one is specifically only for Safari. If you're on an Apple computer but using Chrome, you still want to select Chrome. If you're using Microsoft Edge, you'll use the Chrome option as well. And then below you also have the options for the mobile app if you wanted to download that too. You can also find those in the store. So I'm going to go into a vendor's website and find an item that I would like. So again, you'll go to the vendor site and then you'll go and open up the item specifically. Then you'll see the clipper icon. It's a little roof that you can select and find images for. So certain sites may not pull all of the images that you want. So a little trick, it depends on how each site is built. If you click to expand the image, and sometimes even if you scroll through and then open the clipper, you will see those other images listed in here. Again, it truly just depends on how the site itself is built and information from there. Whatever image you select first, so as you can see, the images that I selected have a darker border around it, so that shows me which ones I have selected, but whenever I select next, they show at the top. Whatever image you select first will default to the primary image, but say that you wanted it to be more at an angle, you can select the star to switch it. And if you wanted to remove an image, you can select the X here. I'm going to close out of this little pop-up so I can see all my details. You can click and drag the clipper to move it around. Just keep in mind, don't go too high up because then you won't be able to click and hold that drag to move clipper option. But anything with this dotted blue box will copy over what I click next. So you can see that it filled this out already, but maybe it has some extra information. I can manually click on it and delete, or I can select this dotted blue box and then click on what I would like for it to say. And same thing for the price. I can just continue selecting. You can select retail or trade. Just truly depends on how you are charging your clients, what you need to know. So maybe you want to always know your trade price and markup is typically the way that I recommend, instead of selecting a retail price and discounting it for you. Just because oftentimes the discount isn't always the same. Again, I can select this, pull over the SKU, fill out any information. It's important to set up your vendors before you start clipping, just because otherwise it won't show your vendors. And then if you want to add it to a project, you can absolutely do that here. It just depends on who you're, make sure that you're logged into the correct profile. I think I logged into the wrong one for me. Once you're happy with that, you can select save. Yep, I logged into the wrong profile, but you get the idea. Then once you have that item, it will show up here, and any information that you pulled over will already be in here. And if you clipped the product URL, it automatically does that, but you can also quick view items and go directly to the website to see that item. So if you need to edit an item, you can select the three dots and edit. You also have a few more options to duplicate. So maybe you grabbed a couple different images of different finishes and you want to have those as options. You can do that. You can also archive or grab a tear sheet if you would like, but I'm going to go into edit product. And again, you can edit all that same information that you filled out. You can tag items, and if you tag them and then add it to the project, it will pull any tags over from here. You are also able to bulk edit products. So if you just forgot to create the vendor, you can see the vendor listed or not listed on each item, but maybe you forgot to create the vendor and then you came back and added them. You can check mark multiple items and bulk edit at the top right. So I can select edit, I can change tags, vendors, category and subcategory, and price type in bulk. So say the vendor, I want to select that. Then I'll just choose the vendor that I wanted and then save. From there, you can see that it lists that on all of these ones that I selected. To deselect, you can select the X just to deselect everything, or you can uncheck them. There is also the public libraries that are in here. It does have all selected. So if you want to view something specific, deselect view all and then select the one that you want. So maybe you want to look at all paint colors. We do have Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, and I think one other one that's just escaping my mind right now that you can find in here. Then you can select the item and add it to the project. Or whenever you're in a project, you can also add them from the public libraries here. So these are items that we have clipped from websites that we have access to. So just keep in mind that especially with trade accounts, you want to triple check any pricing that would be for you before you present it to your clients. Okay, so now I'm going to go to services. It's this little service bell or service tray. And these work very similar to products. The main difference is if you want to have time tracking enabled for it. So I'm going to select add new at the top right. And I have this information that I can list here. And again, I can check mark time tracking enabled so I can track my time against it. You're also able to upload an image onto the service if you would like. Otherwise, it will default to your logo. Okay, so now that we've gone through all of those, let's go through creating a project. So I'm going to go over to my file folder at the top left. I'm going to select add project. And the main thing that's required is a project name. Everything else you can kind of edit or adjust later if you would like. One thing that really helps is if you create a project template and then basically do a shell of a project and create it out as if you needed all that information. That way, whenever you move forward, you can just pull from a project template to fill that out for yourself. Whenever you create a project template, I do recommend adding the date so you know when it was last updated. But we do have a separate webinar completely on project templates and other templates that you can have in your studio. So as I scroll down, I can see different features that I can turn on and off. So these are just if I don't plan to use them, or maybe I don't plan to use them right at the moment. You can turn these on later or turn them off later. Then I'll select next, and you can go ahead and add your clients to it, or you can also select the plus sign to create a profile for them. And same thing for team members if you have the space for team members. So you'll select the person icon, and then you can type in to search for somebody specific. And then you can select their name. It'll pull them up top. You'll just click on the side and it will show them listed there. Then once you're happy with that, you can select create. Okay. There are a few other things that I can go into real quick since we're doing pretty good on time, and then we'll go into questions. So to create tags, you can do this anywhere that has the tag option. I can select tags and I can start to type out something that I would like. So let's just say, studio training, if you spell it correctly. I can just simply select create here, and then it will manually create that, and I can move forward from there. You can also edit this. So if I select the X and start to search for that, then I can select the three dots. I can change the color, change the name, or I can archive it. You can also do this if you have studio settings permissions. In the top left, go to studio settings, and then go down to studio tags. As you can see, I have a lot of different tags in here, and I personally like to color code mine based off of what I need. And then I also created a kind of key for me for what each color is. I just put a little hyphen at the front so it pulls it to the top of my tags list. But again, you can just search for different information. We do have a help article on recommended tags that you can use. If you would like, you can just message us and we'll be more than happy to send that. And tags can be used in a variety of different settings. So on your clients, for time tracking, on projects, on products to separate them in your project overall. Let me go into a project. And you can also do this on notes, files, and media. It's just a filtering option that you can use to better control and fine tune any search options that we may not have directly for you. Something I failed to mention, if you did want to edit that information on the project, you can select this pencil icon where the project name is, and all this information is listed here. Keep in mind if you have your project unpublished versus published, for if that will be visible to your client as well. In here, you also have your user access to where you can add or select the minus to remove people. Again, project managers will be auto added to every project, so you can't remove them unless you change their role. Project features. So again, if you pay attention to this left-hand side, I can turn these all off, and it hides them from both me and my clients just to get it out of the way. If you had information in there and you turn it off, it's pretty much just hiding it. It does not delete that information. So if you turn it back on, that information will still be there. Lastly, you do have the option to add a feature image, but again, it will default to your logo if you don't have something there. And then also you have your visualizer. It looks like this little house icon. Again, if you do not see this, it may be a permission, but I can select this. We recommend that you are on Chrome and it will open in a new tab. So if it does not do that, check your URL to see if it has a pop-up blocker and then select to allow it. That way you can open it up and continue working from there. Keep in mind, it is only one person in the visualizer at a time if you are on a team. So be sure to schedule that and communicate with each other. Let's come back over here. So how long does it take? The short answer is about 30 days. And there are two options that you can do. You, of course, can do self-taught. And once you are a paid subscriber, you do get a onboarding call. Versus option two, you can hire a VA to help pull over information in for you. It just depends on what your capacity is at the moment. And with the self-taught version, it helps you build your muscle memory and confidence much faster because you're already working on it and already doing it. And you have us here as the support team to help you through those things. You also have the option to hire a VA to where they can set up things, and some of them will even train you. And this is especially useful if you're short on time and just need to get things going really quick. So remember, whenever it feels like your old way would be faster, just remind yourself, why did you want to switch or start something in the first place? Usually there is something that's just eating up your time, or maybe it's just not the best process, or just you want to be more organized. There's a variety of different reasons. But again, we are here to help you no matter what. And so just let us know. Okay, so let's go through these questions.
Paxton, do you mind reviewing trade and markup? We have a few designers in the chat asking questions about trade, markup, costs. They're saying that it's never reflected properly. So if you want to just walk through how to do that process in the studio, that would be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go to a different studio that has more things filled out properly. Let's go to Hillside Manor. I'm going to go into the products and services. So whenever you create a product or a service, it will have the base price, so the retail or trade, depending on what you selected and added it as. And then from there, in the project, you can adjust that moving forward. So you would go into the project, in the products and services, and if you didn't already add the items, you want to select product here and select any items. And then once you've added it, you can select the pencil icon, or if you're in table view, you'll select the three dots and then edit here. I'm going to go to table view though, or card view, and then select the pencil icon here. So here is the price that I entered in the catalog. And that is going to be what everything else is going based off of. So if I have my designer discount and I get an extra 10% off of this, I can say 10% and it will calculate that for me. And the price that you're charging your client, again, goes off of whatever number you put in the catalog, which is, again, why typically I recommend putting in the trade price or your price, just because it's easier to mark it up and have that calculate. If you do not want to enter a percentage, you can switch the, oops, I didn't mean to left click or right click. You can switch the modifier mode to fixed and you can manually type it in. So say that I want to charge my client $500 on this. I can manually enter that and I don't have to worry about the percentages. And then same thing for the cost. I can manually enter my cost in here and it will show me my overall profit. So let's say that I'm being charged $3.99. In here, I do need to change the quantity. That is something that's very important because otherwise it'll show the main price is 0, but in the details, it'll show the information. But now you can see that my profit is listed here. And again, this is then shown up as more than 0. Okay. Marcia, do you think that that answered the majority of those questions? Let's see. Oop, looks like we've got a lot of questions, which is exciting. So if it's the retail price, just make sure again that you're discounting what you are paying in the cost section properly. Because whatever is listed for the price, it's what you're going to be charging them. Whatever is listed in the cost is what you're going to be paying to the vendor. So this option that you put in the from the clipper in the main section, you can select to add a client discount to them. So maybe you do share your client, or maybe you do share your discount and say that you get 20%, but you want to give them a 10% discount. You can select client discount here and give them a 10% discount. Or again, you can use fix to adjust that. So the difference between trade price and cost, the trade price, again, some vendors you can get an extra discount with, or maybe you have a special partnership with them to where it may not always be the same for you. If it is, great. You don't have to adjust the cost at all. You can just enter the trade price, and then again, it pulls that into the cost to base off of what that is. So hopefully that answered that for you, Carrie. The trade price or the base price or the retail price is just what it's pulling from and is the starting point on where you need to go for the cost versus the price. Darlene, for the price, it depends on how you set up the views. We have a whole webinar based on that, but some designers want to show the difference in what they are paying versus what the client is paying. So whenever you're in a view, let me go to this guest bedroom. I can select to edit and then set visibility. And it depends on what you select here. So if you do not want your client seeing the market discount, you want to make sure that that is unchecked. And then it will only be showing the pricing, their price to them. I'm going to scroll back up just to make sure I didn't miss any earlier questions really quick. And then I'll come back down to the bottom. So somebody asked, how easy is it to export your client/project out of Mydoma? If you want to export it out, you can message us and we'll send you the client CSV for you. And we do have an article on how to download everything if you would like to get all of your information out. But pretty much everywhere you have that option to download as a PDF, or most places you can download as a CSV, so as a spreadsheet, depending on what you need most. The messaging is only within Mydoma, but clients do receive an email notification that they do have a message inside, and they can click on that and it will take them to their studio. If you accidentally make your client active, you can select the three dots and deactivate them and then invite them, or on the login page. I guess I should have logged out before I did that. Hold on. On the login page, there is a forgot password option here that they can use. And then they would just enter their email and then they can create their password from that, which is also useful if you have a client returning that maybe doesn't remember their password. They can do that too. For Brave web browser, as Marsha said, I'm pretty sure that it is Chrome. I'll triple check with the team on that one, but I'm like 95% sure that it's the Chrome option. Whenever it comes to project scheduling, it depends on if you mean like an FF&E schedule or a calendar. We do have calendars and you can use tasks in that, and you can also template your tasks, and you can also have tasks templated in a project template as well to help along with that. But if you mean like an FF&E schedule, then you can go into a project, go to products and services, and create a view based off of that. Of course, I chose a project that does not have that. So let me go to, let's see, I think Harmony House has that. Products and services. Yep, I have a lighting FF&E. So it just depends on how you want that. And you can have it in card or table view again. This is also useful if you want to send a list to maybe your receiver to show them what they are expecting, or maybe you just want a checklist for yourself, stuff like that. So hopefully that answered the project scheduling. Just depends on what you meant there. If you are doing a window treatment, we do recommend doing custom products. So you can create a generalized product in there and then build your custom product off of that. Or you can create the individual pieces in as regular products and use that. I highly recommend checking out our custom product webinar for more details, just because that can go into so much detail depending on what you need, that'll be your best resource. So to find that, if you select the question mark, go to help guides, training and resources. It'll pull this up here and you can see all of our training and free webinars that we've had recently. And you can select that and watch those. So for example, how to create and use custom products, that one's going to be the one that you want. You can also message us and ask, and we'll be more than happy to send it directly to you. Okay, currently we do not have Gantt charts. That is something that we are potentially looking into, but I don't have any ETAs or guarantees at the moment, but I know that it is at least on our radar. And we are working on more commenting throughout the studio overall. Once the recording is processed, we'll be sure to send that out. It'll likely be probably tomorrow morning.
Paxton, do you want to just take a quick moment and go into invoices and show how they can invoice for their designer fees without having to show their rate? Like they can just actually just type in how much they're billing the customer?
Yes. So if you have an invoice and you would like to create a new one, you can also create new invoices from the products and services. It will warn you if you have an invoice number already used, but for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and use this. I can scroll down and I can select add item from. I can pull from the project list, or I can pull from each catalog. So say that I want to pull from the catalog, I can select this item. Maybe it's a replacement that they needed and I don't need them to approve anything. I can go ahead and add that and then just manually update the price. So I can just say that I'm charging them $900 on this, edit the tax rate, and apply any shipping or notes and stuff like that. If you want to bulk shipping instead of adding it onto each item, I recommend adding that as a service. You are also able to quick create items. So if I go to the products, here soon there will be a quick create button, but for right now, you'll type in a product name, however you whatever product you're trying to use. And if you don't have anything that comes up, you can select quick create. Or again, in the meantime, you can add like a number, but here soon you'll have that quick create button that you can use. You can select quick create and change the currency, edit the name maybe if you needed to, and change the price here. Keep in mind that won't have an image in there, but if you wanted to edit that, you can go back into your product catalog and edit that information. I'm going to go ahead and create this just so you can see. And I can select to add it. If you change the name, you may want to clear the filter and then it'll be at the top. Add. And then I can go into the product catalog and edit this, select the three dots and edit and add any extra details, images, stuff like that. And if I change the product name here in the catalog, it will update across the studio. If you make any edits in the catalog or select edit base product, that is editing the catalog and will edit across the entire studio, not just for a specific project. Does that answer that, Marcia, you think?
Yes.
I have a quick question. So if you edit a product, does it edit like a product that was used for a past project as well?
Okay, so I have this product here. I'm going to select to edit it. If I edit it just, of course I chose a custom product. Let me choose a regular product. If I edit it here without clicking anything else, like just editing the information here, it only edits it for this specific one. So even if I had this chair in the same project multiple times, whatever I change here, it's just doing it for this specific one. What I was talking about is if you select edit base product at the top, that's where it goes into the catalog information, and that will edit across the studio, including older projects. So typically I don't recommend selecting edit base product, especially if you're trying to edit pricing. But if you need to edit the name to maybe do a more client facing name kind of, you could do that. Or maybe you forgot to add the vendor or any information. That would be another reason why you might want to select edit base product. But for the most part, you just want to select that pencil icon and then scroll down and edit information here. Okay. Just to recover, if you wanted to bulk mark up any products, you can do that by vendor. So go into the vendor profile. So this little lemonade stand, select the vendor, and then select this pencil icon. And whatever you put in here, it will auto default that markup against whatever price you put in the product catalog or in the clipper. Are you working on adding an overview or dashboard of financials? So I do know that we have some things in the works, but also since we partnered with Studio Designer, there may be even more things in the works. I don't have all the details currently, especially with that recent change, but I foresee some things definitely coming. I just don't have very many details that I can provide right at the moment. If you are on a professional plan or higher, you do also have some reports listed here. So this little line graph, you can see some orders, invoices, and stuff like that. And you can export the reports, which is just the summary, or you can export invoices, which will be the itemized version of all of these. And you also have some filtering options on the right-hand side. Okay, again, thank you everybody for joining me, and please just keep an eye out for any other webinars that we have. We try to have it regularly on Tuesdays. It's not every Tuesday, but we try to do it almost every Tuesday, and we do a variety of different topics. Again, in your help guides, we have some previous ones. If you have any requests for webinars that you'd like for us to do, by all means, let us know. That way we can cover it and make sure that we get everybody covered. All right. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'm sure we'll chat soon.